Two people buy the exact same $60 pair of shoes. One pays cash, counting out 320s, feeling every bill leave their hand. The other taps their card against a machine, hears a beep, and walks out in 4 seconds. Same price, same shoes, same bank account draining by the same amount. But their brains just experienced two completely different transactions, and one of them barely registered as spending money at all. Here's what nobody tells you about Tap to Pay. It's not just convenient. It was engineered, whether anyone admits it or not, to bypass the exact mental process that makes spending feel real. Let's go back to something researchers at MIT discovered that changed how we think about payment psychology entirely. It's the early 2000s, and behavioral economists run an experiment during a Boston Celtics ticket auction. Half the bidders can only pay cash, the other half can pay by credit card. The card bidders bid, on average, roughly twice as much for the exact same tickets. Same seats, same game, same value. The only variable was how the money would leave their hands. That gap has a name now. Researchers call it the pain of paying, and it turns out physical cash creates a genuine, measurable discomfort in the brain that card payments simply don't trigger the same way. Here's the first strange thing about how your brain processes a tap. When you hand over cash, there's a physical transfer, a visible decrease, a moment where your hand is literally lighter than it was a second ago. Neuroscience research using brain imaging has found that parting with physical cash activates the insula, the same brain region associated with physical pain and disgust. Spending cash quite literally hurts a little. Tapping a card skips that entire circuit. There's no visible decrease, no transfer you can see, just a beep and a green checkmark. The same feedback your brain gets from a video game or a notification, not from losing something. Here's something else that makes Tap to Pay uniquely different from even a regular card swipe or a chip insert. Speed. A chip transaction takes a few seconds, enough time for a small window of conscious awareness that a purchase is happening. Tap to Pay was specifically designed to shrink that window to under a second. Payment companies have publicly stated that reducing transaction friction increases both transaction frequency and average spend. That's not a side effect. That's the design goal, stated outright, because friction was the thing standing between impulse and purchase, and removing it works exactly as intended. Now here's the twist that explains why this is more dangerous than credit cards ever were, even though credit cards get most of the blame. With a credit card, at least part of your brain registers this bill is coming later, a delayed consequence that creates a small amount of restraint. With Tap to Pay linked to a debit card, the money is gone immediately, in real time, straight out of your checking account. But because the physical and cognitive experience feels identical to the credit tap, your brain doesn't distinguish between instant real loss and future abstract bill. It processes both as equally weightless. You get the actual immediate financial consequence of a debit card with the psychological weightlessness of a credit card tap. That combination is why so many people check their balance and genuinely can't account for where the money went. It wasn't one big purchase. It was 30 small taps, none of which registered as spending in the moment. Here's a number that surprises people. Studies on contactless payment behavior have found that people using Tap to Pay consistently spend more per transaction and complete more transactions per week than people using cash or even inserted card payments on nearly identical purchase categories: groceries, coffee, small retail. The category doesn't change. The behavior around it does. It's not that people using Tap to Pay want different things. It's that the psychological cost of getting them has quietly dropped to almost zero, so the brain stops applying its normal filter of "do I actually want this enough to feel it?" So what actually protects you here? Because the answer isn't go back to using only cash forever. That's not realistic for most people in 2026. The fix is reintroducing friction on purpose, deliberately, in the specific places your spending tends to leak. Some people switch back to inserting a card instead of tapping specifically for non-essential purchases, rebuilding just enough of that half-second pause to let awareness catch up. Some set a rule that anything over a certain dollar amount gets paid a slower way, on purpose, specifically because the slowness is the point. Some keep a running mental count or a simple note on their phone, recreating the visibility that a shrinking stack of cash used to provide automatically. The real reason your brain treats tap to pay like free money isn't a personal failure. It's a payment system that was specifically optimized to remove the one mental step that used to make spending feel like spending. Once you know that, the 4-second beep stops feeling like magic and starts feeling like exactly what it is: a transaction with the friction deliberately engineered out of it. If this changed how you think about the way you pay for things, drop a comment about whether you've noticed yourself spending more since switching to tap. And if you want more of the psychology behind everyday money behavior, subscribe so you catch the next one.